So guys, in this video I will show you how to deal with the stupid menus, what server to choose, basic tips and tricks, what kind of weapons to choose, and so on and so forth. All the basics that the game absolutely fails at explaining. So maybe let's start with the first thing, the server. Which server should you choose? So there's two things to know. First of all, there are PvE servers. As you can see, this is a PvE server, and that's pretty self-explanatory. You fight against monsters, against the environment. There is no PvP. However, if you choose, you can actually take a PvP server, and then in some areas you can actually fight other players. Which one to go for? It entirely depends on you. I know a lot of people don't like PvP, so whichever fits your boat, I guess. But what does matter a little bit more, if you look here at the side, it says day 1. This one might say day 3, day 5, and so on and so forth. It will increase. That is how old is the server. The older the server, the more the players, the harder it can be. The more are you in disadvantage. And it's not how old is the server, but how far into the season it is. So the way it works, there's a 6 weeks season, and after 6 weeks there is a reset and you go back to level 1. Not everything goes back to level 1. Things like your currency, your cosmetics, your blueprints, and many other things, they actually stay with you, but the character itself does go back to level 1 every 6 weeks. At least the way I understood it, every quest you completed will also carry on, and I think there's some sort of a fast version you can do them after the reset to get all the rewards or something like it. I don't know, the game is actually still pretty new, so I can't tell you exactly how it's gonna be after the reset, but it's not a full reset, it's like a soft reset. But that is something to keep in mind. So when you choose a server, ideally you probably want to choose something that's maybe in like first couple of days. If you do not want to choose a server that will have a reset, you can actually go here, which is the Eternal Land. Here you will have all of your items and everything you have in your main server. However, this never resets. Everything you have here, you will always have it. But there's a slight catch. If you look at the map, it's like a little island. That's really about it. So essentially you can kind of, place your base and do like almost like a building simulator. If you love building bases, if you want to create the biggest base, the most interesting, the most unique base ever, and you don't want it to go away, well, you can actually do it here. That's one way of playing, and there is another way to save the base, but we're gonna come back to that in a base section. Before that, let's visit some other sections. First things first, whenever you open the map and you see a whole bunch of things, honestly the only thing I would suggest you, to really look at is wherever you see the teleportation towers. You definitely want to unlock those. These are like little villages. You're gonna find a bunch of NPCs that gonna give you quests, and honestly the game will take you around many of these things, but this is something to just keep in mind. And at some point you will need to unlock rift anchors, and the way to find them is just gonna be simply you look at any of these little cities, and as you can see it says here activate rift anchor, right? So, and it also shows you what kind of other things can you do and what kind of rewards can you expect from this area. So whenever you're gonna start the game, you will end up roughly in this area at the beginning. So what I would suggest you to do is to immediately make your way over here. Well, I say immediately, but I mean as soon as you, reach like a first couple levels, but honestly the game will take you to this village, but just try to get here as soon as possible, and there are a few reasons for that. There are a few shops here that you can look around, maybe you're gonna find something that you need, but the most important is this guy right here. You're gonna need to talk with him, and he will give you a couple of quests. And one is very important. One of them will give you the Digby boy. Now, what is a Digby boy? Let me explain. So to give you a little bit of context, the resources in this game is very important. You're gonna need a lot of them. And what is a Digby boy? Digby boy is this guy right here. This little fella right here. What he does is he collects resources. Even if you're not around, even if you're offline, as you can see, he still collects stuff. You see, he gives me quite a little bit of stuff. And you want to get him ASAP. And I mean ASAP. As you can see, he's bringing some stuff in. The reason you want to get him ASAP is because you're gonna need so much stuff, and I mean so much stuff. I think the quest is like level 3 or 4 or something like that. He will help you to get that a little bit extra materials, and he will make your life a little bit easier. And as you can see, there's many kinds of deviants. These things are called deviants. There's many kinds of them. This, for example, will collect logs, the beaver. He is very useful in the beginning because you need a lot of logs, like I mean really a log. But there's a point at which you don't need that much anymore. So if you get before that point, it's great. If you get it after that point, hello? What is this? Anyway, if you get him after that point, it's okay, but he's not that useful anymore. I'll explain here in a second. And we're back. By the way, if you want to get more Digby boys, you can actually find some silver ores. You can actually find some right around here, but honestly, there's a whole bunch of them all around the map. You're gonna find them. You want as many as them as you can. He's the most useful of them all. Now, as far as the beaver goes, as useful as he is, because when you make stuff in the furnace, you make these materials, you're gonna need charcoal. To get charcoal, you need wood, obviously, to make it, right? So you make a little bit of charcoal, and then you can make it into whatever, you know, copper ingots, steel ingots, whatever. But the minute you unlock this, which is an electric furnace, that's it, you don't need charcoal no more. So beaver is super useful at the beginning, and yet not really useful that much after. So if you don't get him early, don't stress about it too much. But the Digby boy, this one you want to get ASAP, and as many of them as possible. Now there are some other ones as well, like this one. She will clean your territory and, you know, bring some food and stuff. This fella will also do that. This samurai will help you to fight. I mean, there's so many of them, I can't explain all of them in this video. Just read, every one of them says what they do, but like I said, this little fella is the one that you really need to focus on. Alright, now let's say you have him. Now you want to place your base, right? Does it really matter where to place your base, how to build it, and so on and so forth? This is my base. I chose this location because it looks kinda cool, it has a nice view. And that's not all, there's actually quite a lot of stones all around. And that's kind of one of the places you kinda wanna find, right there, where you can see a bunch of materials. There's copper, there's iron, there's tin, there's a bunch of stone over there. There's a big tree that actually you can chop, and it does give you one of the deviants. There's more trees in the distance. Honestly, there's a whole bunch of places you can place your base. It doesn't really matter because I will show you here in a second. So when you start your game, just place it wherever you feel like it. Just make sure you have some stones around you. When you start to get maybe into like level 15 and over, you might wanna move over somewhere towards this part of the map, because this part of the map will have iron. The reason I say to you it doesn't hugely matter where you're gonna place your base is because you can build your base with B. Press B and you can build your base. B and then right click mouse. The reason I say it doesn't hugely matter is because not only you have blueprints in which you can actually save your base for other future builds, but crucially, if you're on B and then you press Z, you can move your entire base anywhere you like, and I mean anywhere. I can literally run to the next side of the map and I can still, you know, place my base, and I don't have to rebuild anything except for like a few defenses, and that's it. So remember, if you press Z while you're in the build mode, you can literally move your entire base. That is so convenient, I don't even know how to stress it. That means it doesn't matter where you're gonna place your base. If you don't like it, if it doesn't have good resources, you can just move away anytime you want, and it's that easy to do so. Now, as far as the base itself goes, when you're gonna start the base, it's gonna be a little bit more like this kind of size territory. At some point, you will unlock level 2 base, which is much bigger. Like, I mean, it really is much bigger. So you do not only want to find some resources around, but a big enough open space. As far as the elevation goes, it doesn't hugely matter. I mean, it matters a little bit, but only to a certain extent. So it doesn't have to be very flat, just flat-ish. You know, as you can see, I chose like really something that isn't flat because it kind of gives me, you know, the GTA 5 in the hills type of, you know, vibes. And I like it. It looks really cool. Now, as far as the things in the base itself, I would say the important bits would be to unlock this. You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it simply because then you can use it on the furnace and it immediately removes any log need. You obviously want your supplies workbench. Here you can actually craft ammo and all other kinds of stuff. And also you can craft better pickaxes. And something to keep in mind, if you have a better pickaxe, you can actually get more resources from the same material. So if you're chopping 3, let's say, and you get 10 logs, then you upgrade your pickaxe, you might get 15 from the same thing. So it does matter. And also, it's more reliable, it will last you longer, so it matters. Then the gear workbench also matters a lot. Here you have your blueprints for the armor, weapons, repair section, upgrade section. I'm gonna come back to this in the weapon section. Now you might have some weight issues whenever you're gonna loot, because you might have a whole bunch of stuff in your inventory. Something to keep in mind, you can actually place all the heavy stuff in a chest, and once you do that you can just press G and it will move as much as it can. Whatever you have here in the chest you can use in the base, so that means you don't have to carry it around. And weight is important because the minute you run over the weight you cannot sprint anymore, so it's pretty important, but you're probably not gonna feel it for a little while because you can actually carry a lot of weight, but at some point you will start to feel it. Now this is also very important, this is this assembly bench. You can actually disassemble a whole bunch of stuff inside of here, and whenever you do, you get some new materials, and you can use these materials to build weapons, armors, and so on. This thing right here, the Stardust Resonator, is also very important. I will explain what it does a little bit later, but you also need to build this one ASAP as well, it's very important. Obviously you want as many of these little boxes as you can because you want to place your Deviants. Now how to unlock everything? Well, let's move into the menu sections, because these are gonna be awful, and let me help you to navigate them as easy as possible. So where to unlock all of this stuff? So if you press O, or you can alternatively press Tab and then go into Cradle, here you have a couple of options. First you have the Cradle, which it doesn't usually matter, it's just like some extra bonuses, you just can, read them and choose whichever you like. But the more important one is this one, which is the Memetics. Here you will unlock everything that you have, and these are gonna be the, your basic storage, your roof, stairs, garage, basic furniture, your planting. These are the little boxes that we talked about, with this upgrade you can actually place 10 of them, before you could only place 5 of them. In the crafting section you can unlock ammunition, better workbenches for the weapons and the armor. In the infrastructure section you will unlock better tools. You will also unlock eventually the electro refining, which is the electro furnace, which, like I said, this is probably the first thing I would try to get it, because it will make your life so much easier. Obviously it's quite deep into this section, so you're not gonna be able to get it super fast, but you'll be able to get it reasonably fast if you invest your points, and it will immediately remove all the log problems you have. What to focus on? It really depends, honestly. It kind of depends on what you want to build, how you want to play, but you do want a gear workbench, which is gonna be here, and an intermediate one. You want better tools, obviously here, ammunition. As far as the planting goes, you don't necessarily want it hugely, but you do want this bit, which is the one that gives you 10 boxes. You want the solar generator right here, because this will enable the electronic furnace. You obviously want the stoves. You do want at least the basic storage. You have to have a garage, because you have a bike and that's the only place you can repair the bike. You want at least like basic structures right here, so you could actually place your base. You will want defenses as well, because whenever you use Stardust, your base will get invaded. At some point you want to get this one, which is the territory expansion. This will make your base bigger. So it entirely depends, what you want to build, but I would suggest just read. I can't tell you exactly what to go for, it entirely depends on you. And to unlock these things you need these points right here. To get them you just level up, do quests and stuff like that, and there's one more place to get them, I'll show you here in a second. If you go to escape and you go right here to Manibus, this is a season phase. As you can see right now we're in phase 1 and it ends in 1 day, and this will carry onwards. Then there are the season goals. If you go in one of the season goals you can see a whole bunch of tasks, and whenever you complete these tasks you get these points, and when you get enough of them you get these rewards right here. And as you can see these rewards also give you points, and also will give you this currency. To spend this currency, you can go right here into the season shop and you can buy a whole bunch of things. What do you want to buy with this? It depends. All of them are cosmetics, you know, these are the types of items I chose. It depends what you want. You can also spend some of these points opening chests for obviously even more cosmetics. This entirely depends on you if you want to spend on them. This is just a season info, and these are more seasonal rewards as well. So like I said, if you want to find that shop, escape, manibus, season goals, season, and then season shop. And that is exactly why I said the menus are awful. There's one more place you can actually spend this currency, and I will show you here in a second as well. Now this is my friend's base. As you can see, he structured those things a little bit different, and as you can see, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I only have 2 of them, so he's lucky. He got a lot more lucky than I did. The other place you can spend these things is a wish machine, which you can obviously find here as well. If you go here, I believe it's somewhere here. Oh no, there we go. It's in logistics and it's here. But if your friend has it, you can actually just skip building it and use a friend's one. So you can also use these points right here and you will play a minigame and you will get more cosmetics here as well. Cosmetics, blueprints, and so on and so forth. So this is the second way to spend these things. Oh, and by the way, if you press G, you can just summon your bike and it does need fuel. If you want to refuel it, you just again press G and you can refuel it. To get fuel, just walk around and you're gonna find it. To get some of that currency, you will get from like events and stuff like that. You can also get it from using this filter right here. You will get some of these stones as you play the game and you can use them to purify them and you will get some of that currency, but I'm not gonna use them right now. Something to keep in mind, when you're gonna use it, your base will get attacked and you will need to survive for like 3, 4, 5 minutes, and it's not easy. There's gonna be a lot of monsters and they're gonna be pretty difficult. Ideally you want somebody to help you, but if you don't have, you don't have, but keep in mind you will get attacked. So using some of these, you know, for example turrets, it's actually pretty nice because they will help you a lot. This will shoot, this will slow them, you know, so will this. So you do need some of these things to help you, but like I said, to get some more of that currency, use this thing right here, but be careful. The minute you purify it, you will get attacked. Keep in mind that you will be attacked. Now maybe let's revisit your whole inventory. So in the first section, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? You have a bunch of stuff right here that is like weapons and pickaxes and stuff like that related. By the way, the inventory is absolutely god-awful and I wish I could help you a little bit more with it, but I can't. One of the bigger issues for me is that you cannot sort by weight, so if you're overweight, you kind of just have to go, you know, one by one and just check which one weighs a lot. In this slot, it's more like your foods and stuff like that. By the way, there's a sanity bar. If we look at the bottom, there's a little bar. Right now it's not that big, but it will get bigger and it reduces your max HP. To remove that sanity bar, you have to eat these little things, the sanity gummies. To get them, you'll just get them from all kinds of quests, events and stuff like that. Or alternatively, you can go here. Again, here you go to logistics, and once you unlock electric stoves, you can actually craft them yourself. Or there's another way to do that. You can just place, you know, the most simple bed. I have a pretty fancy one, but you know, you can place a simple bed, the most simple one you can. Just go to sleep, and as you can see, the bar got removed. That's another way of doing it. Going back to the inventory, you know, there's a bunch of food and stuff like that. Keep in mind the food does spoil, except like the canned stuff, but simple foods will spoil. I still don't entirely know what to do with some of these things. Here you will have all kinds of stuff, which is basically your resources. And again, I know it seems like there's so many things. Oh, what does what do, you know? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how bad the menus are. Here you will have a little bit more of your like cosmetic stuff. This will be house related and this will be your deviants. Going into the gear, on the first side it's pretty self-explanatory, right? You have your weapons, your melee weapon, and your gear. So if you go to any of the weapons and if you wanna change the weapon, you can just click F and you're gonna change it. Then you can also click the second mouse and you can actually add enchantments. You will find them as you do your, as you just play the game. If you go here, there's gonna be accessories. You can add stuff like a muzzle, an optic and stuff like that. You can also change the ammo, which at some point you're gonna craft a better ammo and you're probably gonna be like, oh, hey, this is better, why can't I use it? It makes no sense. Well, it's because you need to go here and you need to change the ammo for the weapon, which is, I know, yeah. And then you have your cosmetics, which is self-explanatory. So again, if you wanna do these things, you press C, you go to gear, you go to weapon, you press second mouse, and then you find accessories, and then you find your ammo, and then you can change it. Is absolutely not the way it should be, but that's the way it is. And it's the same way it is for all of your gear. You can also second mouse and then you will have, a bunch of like mods and stuff like that you can use, which is maybe a little bit easier because they don't have accessories, but still. And for melee weapon, you can only choose a melee weapon. Going here, we already talked about this one. Then going to the blueprints. On the first glance, you might think that, okay, these are the ones that I have, which you don't. The ones that you do have are the ones that do not have these like a K or whatever this is letter. This I have and this I do not. If this letter is half full, that means you have half the blueprint and you need to get another half. And obviously you have that for all of the weapons. And the same thing goes for armor as well. Then in the mods you have your, mods, your armor mods, and something to keep in mind, if you do click second mouse, you can actually enchant them to make them better. And here is your obviously cosmetics, which is self-explanatory. Now if you wanna add your friends to your hive, you need to create hive. To create hive, you need to go to escape, get united, and then hive. And here you can actually create a hive. If you press L, you will find your tasks. These will be your main storyline. These will be the side quests, which, because you level up so fast, you don't even need to do them, but you do get some cool stuff from it from time to time, and some of them do take you to interesting places, so I would recommend to do them. But whenever you have some time to kill or stuff like that, except the first side quest that I told you to do for the Digby boy, that one, just do it. Map is pretty self-explanatory, obviously. The journey will give you some extra rewards, but whenever you complete a journey, it will send you a message, but you still need to go in and claim every one of them manually. The survival manual will help you, but the menus are so awful at this point anyway. Who's reading this? Nobody. Same thing with a field guide, just nobody's reading it. Oh, and something I forgot to mention about the base, if you actually go into the B and you go into house blueprints and then you go into the presets, you can actually choose one of the presets. For example, I chose this one and then I started to build from there, which kind of, gives you like a little starting place. But that being said, now let's carry into the weapons, the combat, and the looting section. So to get your gear, obviously you will drop some of them, but whatever you will not, you can actually craft. So to craft the gear, you will have plenty of options whenever you unlock these options. These will be your armor options. As far as the armor goes, just craft the best that you can. It's pretty simple. If you have a helmet, you want to craft a helmet that gives you, the most HP, the most defense, and so on and so forth. But there is a set effect, so if you have the same set, it does give you some set effects, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But this one helmet will also have tiers, so you can go tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So maybe you have materials for example, tier 3, but you do not have the materials for tier 4 because you haven't visited the area that drops them yet. Where to get the materials? So whenever you disassemble and scrap stuff, you will get a bunch of these, which will be the materials to craft the armors and the weapons. And if you don't know where to find them, you can just pretty much hover the mouse and it will tell you how to get Explorer 21 to level 30 settlements. Pretty easy, right? That's where you go and that's where you're gonna find them. And the same thing goes with the weapons, right? If you want any kind of weapon, you just go like this, you go, okay, I need this, you press craft, you craft it, great, now you have it. and then you do the same for these, and then you just craft the weapon itself. Now once you have the weapons, you can repair them here, and when you want to enchant them, you can go here and then you can just enchant. For example, if I want to enchant my rifle to level 5, if I have enough materials, I can just click confirm, and there we go, now it's level 5. And it's kind of worth it because it does quite a little bit more damage when you do that. And the same thing with armor goes. You want to enchant it, just click confirm, and there we go, it's level 2 now. I mean level 1 and now level 2. Pretty simple. Now which weapons to go for? Ironically, the first weapon that you're gonna get, which is gonna be this, the rusty crossbow, is actually pretty damn good. Melee weapons in this game are also really good. The first thing you're gonna get, which is the camping knife, is really damn good. In the beginning you might have some bullet problems, eventually that will go away, but even when you do not have bullet problems, honestly, melee weapons are pretty good. I would say the shotguns do pretty good damage up close. Whenever you unlock snipers, you absolutely want a sniper, because whenever you're gonna fight big bosses, and there's plenty of them in this game, they will make your life so much easier, because that means you do not need to be close and they do a lot of damage. Pistols are meh. Shotguns, like I said, can be useful. SMGs and rifle both have their place, but at least in the beginning, like for example, the first Kalashnikov you unlock is just awful, but for example, the Scar is actually pretty good. Sniper is a must. As far as LMG goes, I haven't tried it yet, but there's other options that are probably better. Like I said, the crossbow is actually pretty good, and the melee weapons are as well. So the way I use my weapons, I have a rifle, which is a Scar, then I have my sniper for the boss fights, and sometimes you will actually encounter other snipers that do a lot of damage. And I don't mean people, I mean NPCs, so having a sniper to kill a sniper is actually pretty useful. And then I have my melee weapon, which is a wrench. And which melee weapon to use? Well, all of them have pros and cons. This one's kind of slow a little bit, but it has a huge damage. Knife is a faster one, but it doesn't have such a massive damage, and it also doesn't have a big AoE, and this one does if you use this kind of attack. By the way, if you press second mouse, you can actually aim like this, but if you press it again, you can aim like this in first person. So my sniper will do this much damage, while my Scar will do this kind of damage, but fast. So pros and cons. On the other hand, most of the time I actually use my melee, because it can actually do this. It can pretty much just one-shot them. So the balancing is, let's just say, weird, right? But melee weapons are really good. The rusty crossbow you're gonna get in the beginning is really good, and if you get good headshots, it does a lot of damage. It can actually carry you quite a long way. So I would say have a rifle, have a sniper, and have a melee weapon. For me, that feels like that's the best way to do it. To get bullets for your weapons, you need to go into the supplies workbench, and here you will unlock your bullets. Bullets usually require gunpowder and whatever else. In this case, it might be steel ingot or a copper ingot, or if you need arrows, that simply might be a log. But here you can make your bullets that you can use on your weapons. Now, as far as the looting goes, whenever you're gonna enter a zone, obviously stuff will immediately attack you, and the reason I said you might need a sniper, because as you can see, NPCs do shoot at you as well. So having a sniper might actually be pretty useful. Whenever you're gonna enter the zone, you will actually in the top left corner get a screen that says you need to collect stuff. That might be like a gearbox, a weapon box, defeat like an elite boss, maybe unlocked Rift Anchor, or whatever else it might be. And whenever you complete that, you will get some rewards. The way you loot stuff in this game is actually pretty simple. You run into any building, you press Q, and stuff will immediately light up. And then you just go in and you press F and you will collect stuff. You find the box, you press F, you collect. And the reason I said melee weapons are actually pretty good, as you can see, here's an enemy and here's me using a melee weapon. He's no longer there. So yeah, melee weapons are pretty good, and the enemies don't do that much damage, especially if there's only like one of them. So melee weapons are really, really good. And here's, for example, a weapon crate, and you will need to find a few of them perhaps to complete a side quest. And these weapon crates will give you blueprints, will give you all kinds of cool stuff, new weapons, whatever else you might find in them. You will also need to collect mythical chests, those will also give you all kinds of good stuff, so don't be afraid to do these little side quests that will pop up whenever you enter the territory. Now, from time to time you will also run out of food and run out of water. Whenever you run out of these things, you're gonna need them because otherwise you will not be able to run. Now, to get some food, you're gonna find a bunch of them, but even if you don't, just, the animals you find, just kill them, get the meat, cook it in the stove, and you're gonna have some food. As far as the water goes, it's actually that easy. You come into any water location you can find, you press G, and then you will start collecting the water. I would suggest just simply collect an absolutely huge amount, maybe like 1,000 water or something, however much you can, and then all you have to do is just bring that water to the stove. You need a little bit of wood and just craft it into a boiled water. And that's it, you will have plenty of water to spare. Oh, and by the way, if you want to summon one of these little deviants to help you in the fight, for example, right now I have selected this guy, all you have to do is press E and you can just use auto attack, and as you can see, there we go, he now will help me. And if you want to recall him, just do the same thing, press E and then recall. You can only summon him only so often, so if you want to attack the enemy and then immediately recall to summon him again a little bit later, do that. Otherwise, he will stay as long as he can, then disappear, and then there's gonna be a lengthy cooldown before you can summon him again. If you don't have him here in the box yet, you need to press F, then you need to select him, then you need to go again in the inside, and then you need to press sync to Cradle, and only now you can actually use him, which is way more complicated than it should be, but there we go. So yeah guys, I hope I helped you a little bit. This game is super fun, it's awesome, I love it so far. Me and my friend are playing every day right now. It's a free-to-play game, it's really cool, but the problem is with this game, the menus are terrible, explanation is god-awful, weapons can be somewhat unbalanced, but I hope I helped you a little bit with just, selecting what weapons to use. Also, like the currency you have, it's god-awful to find where to spend it. For example, if you go to escape, minibus, season goals, and then shop, and if you're in here and the first time the game will send you here, but then the second time I try to find it, I need that to actually freaking Google it because I just couldn't find it. That's not alright. I hope I helped you, and if I did, leave a like, perhaps subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching, take care.